In the vast expanse of the galaxy, humanity's existence had always been perceived as insignificant, just another species among the countless others scattered across the stars. For centuries, Earth had been a quiet world, tucked away in the corner of the Milky Way. But as the galactic empire's reach extended further, it became clear that the human race was merely a footnote in the great cosmic ledger. The Empire, with its unparalleled power and advanced technologies, had no need to waste resources on a planet like Earth. It was a place of no great value, yet it was also a place that harbored something the Empire had never anticipated, the potential for unity, resilience, and defiance. It was on Earth that they made their first mistake. The Empire, in its insatiable hunger for dominion, had long sought to neutralize any threats before they grew too large. Humanity, with its sprawling population and rapidly advancing technology, had been deemed a potential problem. But the Empire's methods were ruthless. They did not understand the depth of human emotion, the burning desire for survival that burned brighter than any weapon. And in their arrogance, they killed a child, a symbol of Earth's future, of all that the planet stood for. The child was a girl, no more than 6 years old, with wide eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest of rooms. She was the daughter of one of Earth's leading scientists, someone who had devoted his life to understanding the stars and the cosmos. But it wasn't her father's work that brought the Empire to Earth, it was the girl herself. The Galactic Empire had learned of a peculiar anomaly emanating from her brain, something they couldn't comprehend, something that suggested a latent power far beyond the normal human threshold. They killed her without hesitation. A swift, brutal strike to silence her potential. No one knew why they targeted her, or what she represented, but the Empire had always been cautious, and in this case, they were sure she posed a threat to their reign. Earth, in its grief and fury, responded the only way it knew how. The child's death sparked an inferno of rage that spread across the globe. Earth's governments, once fractured by politics and war, found themselves united by a singular cause, vengeance. What was once a divided planet now moved as one, pooling every resource, every ounce of knowledge and power they had. The old world of petty conflicts was gone, replaced by a singular, burning desire to make the Empire pay for its mistake. No longer would Earth be a passive spectator in the galaxy. Humanity would fight. Humanity would wage war. The first retaliation came swiftly, a brutal, unrelenting series of strikes against Empire outposts scattered across the galaxy. Earth's newfound unity gave rise to a weaponized military force unlike any the galaxy had seen before. No longer bound by national interests, humanity worked together as one, leveraging both ancient military tactics and cutting-edge technology to strike with precision and fury. The Empire was caught off guard. In their centuries of dominance, they had never encountered a foe like this, a species willing to fight with such unbridled intensity. The death of a single child had transformed Earth into a terrifying force, a people who had shed their weakness and embraced their full potential. Every human, from the smallest child to the oldest veteran, had become part of the war machine. And in the shadows, Earth's greatest minds worked tirelessly to develop weapons capable of matching the Empire's advanced technology. Human ingenuity, combined with their fierce will to protect their home, birthed machines of unimaginable power, giant warships, weapons that could shatter entire fleets, and systems capable of disrupting the very fabric of space itself. The Empire's leaders watched in growing fear as their once unchallenged supremacy began to crumble. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were facing the consequences. Every battle they fought against the humans left them questioning whether their empire could survive the storm of wrath Earth had unleashed. In the wake of the child's death, an entire generation of humans had risen. They were no longer just survivors, they were warriors, united in purpose and fierce in their resolve. The Galactic Empire had made the gravest of mistakes, and now Earth would make them pay the price. The war had just begun. The war between Earth and the Galactic Empire was no longer a simple matter of survival, it had become something much larger. It was a battle for the future of an entire species, a struggle for the right to exist in a galaxy that had long viewed humans as little more than a fleeting curiosity. The death of one innocent child had ignited something within the human race, a fire that could never be extinguished. The first phase of humanity's retaliation was marked by a series of surprise attacks, each more devastating than the last. Earth's military, once composed of fragmented forces scattered across the globe, had now unified under a single banner, the Earth Federation. The Federation's command structure was designed for efficiency, combining the best of human military strategy with newly developed technology that had been made possible by the combined intellect of the world's greatest scientists, engineers, and tacticians. Humanity had always been good at making do with limited resources, but now, they had resources to burn, and they used them with deadly precision. In the early days of the war, the Empire's fleet had been scattered, unprepared for such a coordinated assault. Earth's forces utilized advanced stealth technology, rendering their ships nearly invisible to the Empire's sensors. They launched raids on Empire supply lines, destroyed research outposts, and crippled military bases with surgical precision. The Empire, expecting little more than token resistance, was stunned by the ferocity of the human counteroffensive. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was forced to retreat. They had underestimated humanity's potential, and they were paying the price. But the Empire was nothing if not ruthless. They regrouped, calling upon their vast network of allies and vassal species to aid in the conflict. The war escalated quickly, turning from small-scale skirmishes into full-fledged battles that spanned the entire galaxy. The Empire unleashed its full military might, sending fleets of warships, legions of elite soldiers, and advanced weaponry to crush the human resistance. They believed that this would be enough to end the war before it could truly begin. What they didn't anticipate, however, was the sheer willpower of the human race. Humanity had suffered greatly, but they had learned from their pain. Every loss fueled their determination to fight harder. Every battle they won brought them closer to their ultimate goal, vengeance for the death of the child, and the liberation of their home. Meanwhile, Earth scientists worked tirelessly to develop new technologies that could turn the tide of the war. They had discovered ways to harness the latent energy of dark matter, creating weapons that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. They had unlocked the secrets of faster-than-light travel, allowing Earth's warships to strike at distant Empire worlds before the enemy even knew they were coming. And they had perfected the art of cyber warfare, infiltrating the Empire's systems and causing widespread chaos within their ranks. But perhaps the most significant development was the creation of the Solomon Project, a top-secret initiative that sought to weaponize the mysterious anomaly in the child's brain. After her death, Earth scientists had been obsessed with unraveling the mystery of the child's potential. They had discovered that her brain emitted a unique form of energy, a kind of cosmic resonance that could interact with the fabric of spacetime itself. They theorized that if they could harness this energy, they could create weapons of unimaginable power, tools capable of not only defeating the Empire, but also reshaping the very nature of the universe. The Solomon Project was humanity's last hope. If it succeeded, they would have the means to strike directly at the heart of the Empire. But if it failed, the war would be lost. As the war raged on, the Galactic Empire began to realize that they were facing something truly unprecedented. They had encountered countless species in their conquests, each more or less predictable, each with their own weaknesses to exploit. But humanity was different. They were unpredictable, driven by a fierce desire to protect their home and their people. The Empire had killed one child, but in doing so, they had awakened an entire species to the reality of their power. And now, that species was fighting with everything it had. The Emperor, a being of immense power and intellect, watched from his throne as reports poured in from across the galaxy. The Empire's fleets were being destroyed, their resources stretched thin. They had underestimated humanity, but there was still time to crush the rebellion. The Emperor's advisors suggested using more extreme methods, destroy entire human colonies, wipe out Earth itself if necessary, but the Emperor hesitated. He had seen the humans in action, and he knew that this was no ordinary race. They were capable of more than just resistance, they were capable of revolution. In the war councils, the emperor devised a plan to break the human spirit. He would send his greatest generals, his most loyal soldiers, to Earth itself. He would strike at the heart of the Federation and crush them where they were strongest. If humanity's will to fight could be shattered, the war would end. The death of one child had cost the Empire dearly, but the destruction of Earth would silence any further rebellion. As the Empire's fleet gathered to launch its assault on Earth, humanity's leaders made their final preparations. They knew that the coming battle would be their greatest test. It would be a battle for their very survival, and they would not surrender, not for any price. In the skies above Earth, the final battle loomed. A battle that would decide not just the fate of a single planet, but the future of the galaxy itself. The Earth Federation's ships were ready. Their weapons were charged. Their resolve was unbreakable. And at the helm of every warship, every fighter, every soldier, there was a single thought: we fight for the child. As the Empire's fleet surged toward Earth, the atmosphere on the planet was electric with anticipation. The Earth Federation, united in purpose, had fortified every major city, every strategic military outpost, and every piece of infrastructure. The Empire's fleet, with its vast armada of starships and legions of soldiers, was powerful, but Earth's resolve was stronger. Humanity had fought too long, lost too much, to be cowed now. The Federation's leadership had a single directive: hold the line. Earth's survival depended on their unity, their strength, and their ability to outthink and outfight the Empire. While the enemy advanced with overwhelming numbers, humanity's forces relied on their speed, their ingenuity, and their unyielding spirit. But the Emperor, despite his confidence in the Empire's might, knew that this would be no ordinary battle. The humans had proven themselves capable of remarkable things, things the Empire had not thought possible. They had developed technologies to rival even their own. Worse still, they had a collective will, a fierce determination to defend their home that no weapon could counter. The battle began in space. Thousands of Empire warships dropped out of hyperspace above Earth's atmosphere, darkening the sky with their monstrous silhouettes. It was an invasion on a scale that had not been seen in millennia, and for a moment, the planet trembled. The first salvo of plasma bolts rained down from the Imperial ships, vaporizing the outermost defenses of Earth's space stations. But the Federation's fleet was ready. Human warships, sleek and agile, darted through the wreckage of their destroyed satellites. Their new stealth technology, which had previously allowed them to infiltrate enemy lines, was now their greatest asset. They moved in perfect synchrony, engaging the Empire's forces with surgical precision. Earth's warships weren't as large as the Empire's battleships, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and packed with devastating firepower. Every shot, every missile, and every laser was aimed with deadly accuracy. But even with their advanced technology, Earth's forces knew they could not hold out indefinitely. The Empire had more ships, more weapons, more troops. The Federation's fleet was taking heavy losses as they engaged the larger Imperial Armada, and Earth's atmosphere became a battlefield as fighter ships tore through the skies in a violent, chaotic dance. On the surface, the Federation's defense forces were preparing for the inevitable ground assault. The Empire's ground troops, elite soldiers trained in the arts of conquest, began their descent in drop pods, landing in strategic locations across Earth's continents. The cities were fortified, but the Empire had brought a vast army to bear. Earth's military, though united and resourceful, was outnumbered and outgunned. But again, it was not in numbers that humanity's strength lay, it was in their unity and their will to survive. In the midst of the chaos, the Solomon Project entered its final stage. Deep underground, in a hidden facility known only to a select few, the last piece of the puzzle was being put together. The resonance from the child's brain, once thought to be a mysterious anomaly, had been fully understood and harnessed. It was now a weapon of immense power, capable of altering the very structure of reality itself. Dr. Olivia Ruiz, the lead scientist behind the Solomon Project, stood before a massive chamber where the weapon was being activated. "This is it," she said softly, staring at the glowing core of the device. "This is humanity's last chance." The weapon was a combination of human ingenuity and the strange cosmic energy they had discovered in the child's brain. It was called the Cosmic Resonator, a device that could create a temporary rift in spacetime, allowing humanity to strike directly at the heart of the Empire's fleet. It was their trump card, a weapon that, if successful, could turn the tide of the entire war. But there was a catch. The resonator would only function for a few seconds, and during that time, it could unleash a surge of energy so powerful that it could either obliterate the Empire's fleet or tear apart everything in its path. The Cosmic Resonator's power was unstable, its effects unpredictable. Humanity's scientists had worked day and night to refine it, but even they didn't know if it would work as intended. There was no time to test it. There was only time to use it, or face annihilation. Back in the heart of the battle, Earth's military forces were giving everything they had. The capital cities were under siege, and the Empire's ground troops had already begun their relentless march across the planet's surface. But even as the planet seemed on the brink of collapse, humanity's soldiers fought with the fury of those who knew they had nothing left to lose. Captain James Holden, a seasoned veteran of the Federation, was leading one of the last remaining defense forces in the war-torn city of New York. He had seen horrors in the past weeks that would haunt him for the rest of his life: families torn apart, cities reduced to rubble, entire populations displaced by the violence of war. But even in the face of overwhelming destruction, Holden's heart burned with a singular, unwavering purpose: to protect Earth. To avenge the death of the child. His team had set up a defensive perimeter in what was left of the city's central district, fighting off wave after wave of Imperial soldiers. They knew that they were on borrowed time. The Cosmic Resonator was their only hope. If it failed, Earth would fall. In the final moments of the battle, as the Empire's forces closed in, the countdown began. The resonator was activated, and the ground shook as a brilliant wave of energy cascaded through the atmosphere. The rift in spacetime began to form. In an instant, everything changed. A burst of light exploded from the resonator, sending a shock wave of energy through the Empire's fleet. Massive ships were torn apart in a flash, their hulls disintegrating into stardust. The galaxy itself seemed to warp as the fabric of spacetime bent and twisted. The Empire's forces were thrown into disarray, their ships lost in the chaos of the energy pulse. The Empire had underestimated humanity's capacity for survival, and in that moment, they paid the price. The battle was not over, but Earth had struck a decisive blow. The outcome of the war hung in the balance, with the fate of the galaxy now uncertain. Would humanity's newfound power be enough to push back the Empire for good, or would they face even greater challenges? The struggle for Earth's survival had only just begun. The shockwave from the Cosmic Resonator continued to reverberate across the battlefield, an immense force that left both the Earth Federation and the Empire's forces stunned. The fabric of space itself seemed to ripple as though it were a fragile cloth torn by the power of a child's death, a death that had ignited the fiercest of human fires. The Empire, which had once ruled the stars with unchallenged might, was now facing the consequences of its arrogance. Captain James Holden watched as the sky above New York lit up with an otherworldly glow. It was a moment of clarity amid the chaos, a breath before the storm resumed. Earth's soldiers, battle-worn but determined, stared up at the spectacle, not sure whether to believe their own eyes. The Empire's warships, once so fearsome, were now breaking apart in mid-flight, disintegrating into fiery fragments that cascaded across the heavens like burning meteors. It was as though the very foundation of the Empire had been shattered in an instant. Holden's comms buzzed in his ear. "Captain, the fleet's in disarray. We're pushing them back," the voice of his commander faltered, all lacing every word. This is working. We've got the upper hand." But Holden knew the battle wasn't over. The Empire's forces were large, and the Emperor was not one to be easily defeated. Despite the loss of several fleets, the core of their power remained intact. The Federation's victory was just a turning point, a spark in the dark, but it would take more than a single attack to secure humanity's future. "Continue pressing the assault," Holden ordered, his voice steady but firm. "Don't let them regroup. If we let them breathe, we'll never get another chance." As the Federation forces pushed forward, their morale surged. For the first time since the war began, Earth's resistance seemed to have the advantage. The battle that had seemed all but lost was now within their grasp. But the Imperial forces, even in disarray, were still formidable. The Empire's generals, some of the most brutal military tacticians in the galaxy, quickly began to organize a counterattack. On the other side of the battlefield, deep within the heart of the Empire's command ship, Emperor Nalder sat upon his obsidian throne, his hands gripping the armrests so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His pale eyes gleamed with fury as he watched the devastation unfold through the holographic display. "They did this, how?" he muttered under his breath, his voice barely a whisper. "A single, primitive species, defying the might of the Empire." Despite his rage, the Emperor remained calm, calculating. He knew that he couldn't afford to make rash decisions. The cosmic resonator, he realized, was a weapon far beyond what he had expected. He had underestimated humanity's ingenuity, and now he had to take drastic measures to crush their newfound strength before it could evolve into something even more dangerous. "Dispatch the Legion of the Void," the Emperor ordered coldly, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Send them to Earth. Show these pitiful creatures the true power of the Empire." The Legion of the Void was the Empire's most terrifying force, a special battalion of elite soldiers who were capable of operating in the harshest conditions of space. Clad in reinforced armor and wielding advanced weaponry, they had been trained for the most critical missions, and they were feared across the galaxy for their ruthlessness. If anyone could quell the human uprising, it was them. With a flick of his wrist, the Emperor's command center erupted into action. A fleet of warships was dispatched, carrying the Legion of the Void to Earth, their weapons primed for a brutal ground assault. The final battle for humanity's survival was now approaching its most dangerous stage. As the Imperial fleet launched its deadly counteroffensive, humanity's leaders on Earth scrambled to respond. They knew that the Empire's counterattack would be swift and unforgiving. The Federation's forces, bolstered by their victory, were now faced with a new kind of enemy, one that would not hesitate to wipe them out. Dr. Olivia Ruiz, the mastermind behind the Solomon Project, paced nervously in the control room. Her fingers trembled as she looked at the data streaming across the holoscreens. "The cosmic resonator is unstable," she said aloud, her voice full of concern. "We can't use it again. Not yet. We need time to recharge it. If the Legion of the Void arrives before we're ready," her words trailed off into silence, the weight of the situation sinking in. But there was no time for hesitation. Earth had one last shot. "The Empire is sending their elite forces," General Vance, the Federation's military leader, said grimly. "The Legion of the Void is known for its ability to crush anything in its path. We need to form a unified defense, and fast." A plan was set in motion, and humanity's remaining forces mobilized, converging on key battlefronts across the globe. The fight now took a different form, one that moved from space to the surface of Earth. Cities became war zones, and every inch of land, every street, every building became part of the desperate struggle for survival. Holden and his team were assigned to lead a critical operation in the heart of New York. The Legion of the Void, known for their brutal tactics and relentless nature, had landed on Earth, and the battle for the city had begun. With each passing hour, the Federation forces grew more desperate, more determined. Earth's defenders knew that they could not allow the Legion to seize the planet. As they approached the front lines, Captain Holden's team encountered the first wave of Imperial forces. The streets were filled with the sounds of blaster fire and explosions as the two sides clashed in an all-out battle. Earth's soldiers fought valiantly, but the Legion's relentless assault pushed them back. The streets of New York, once vibrant and alive, now lay in ruins, a testament to the fury of war. But in the chaos, Holden saw something that filled him with hope. The citizens of Earth, those who had once lived in fear, now fought alongside the soldiers. They were throwing themselves into the battle, refusing to let their world be taken. Civilians turned soldiers, wielding whatever weapons they could find, united in defense of their home. The Empire had underestimated them once again. Meanwhile, deep within the Empire's command ship, the Emperor's face twisted into a sneer. "Send the full might of the Empire," he ordered. "If humanity wants a war, we will give them one they will never forget." As the battle raged, the true cost of war became evident. Cities burned, and the stars above Earth grew ever darker. The Empire had sent its best to destroy humanity's resistance, but the fire of unity had ignited something the Empire could not extinguish. The outcome was still uncertain, but one thing was clear: the humans would never surrender. The battle is intensifying, and humanity's resolve is tested to its limits. With the Empire unleashing its most elite forces, the fate of Earth hangs in the balance. Will humanity's fears will be enough to overcome the might of the Galactic Empire, or will they face extinction at the hands of their oppressors? The war is far from over, and the ultimate confrontation is drawing near. The Legion of the Void descended upon Earth like a storm, an unstoppable force that swept across the landscape with a ferocity that could only be described as otherworldly. They were relentless, trained for battle in environments harsher than Earth could ever hope to replicate. Their soldiers were augmented, both physically and mentally, and each one was a perfect machine of destruction. Unlike the standard Imperial troops, the Legion had no weaknesses, no hesitation. They were the Empire's true elite, and they had come to Earth to end the war once and for all. Captain James Holden's team fought with everything they had, but the Legion was unlike anything they had encountered. The enemy's soldiers moved as one, their tactics flawless, their weapons devastating. Each battle was a massacre as the Federation soldiers were pushed back further and further, retreating into the heart of the city. Buildings crumbled around them as blaster fire and explosions lit up the streets. Holden's squad was cornered in a ruined skyscraper, a last bastion of defense against the oncoming Legion forces. The glass windows had long since shattered, and the once imposing structure now served as little more than a crumbling monument to humanity's last stand. "We can't hold out much longer, Captain," Sergeant Maria Delacruz said, her voice strained. Blood stained her uniform, but her resolve was unshaken. "We need backup. Where's the rest of our forces?" Holden glanced out the broken window. He could see the waves of the Legion advancing, their glowing energy shields absorbing the Federation's weapons fire. It felt like a nightmare, fighting against an unstoppable tide. But they had no choice. Retreat wasn't an option. "We don't need backup, Sergeant," Holden replied, his voice cold but steady. "We need to buy time. Time for the rest of the Federation to regroup. Time for the Solomon Project to activate." Delacruz's eyes widened. "You're counting on that? The resonator? It's our last hope, Captain. What if it doesn't work?" Holden didn't answer. He couldn't afford to doubt. He knew the stakes. The Federation's forces were already in full retreat, their backs to the wall. Earth's last defense was the cosmic resonator, the weapon that had already turned the tide of the war once. But if it failed, if it couldn't be reactivated in time, Earth would be lost. The Legion would crush them, and the Empire would reassert its dominion over the galaxy. In the distance, Holden saw a flash of light, a small, flickering star in the dark sky. It wasn't a ship, nor an explosion. It was something else. It was hope. "Sir!" Delacruz called, pointing to the horizon. "That's the cosmic resonator. They've activated it." Holden's heart skipped a beat. "It's time." The glowing rift in the sky expanded rapidly, its energy surging outward in waves. The ground shook as if the planet itself were about to break apart, and the Empire's warships above began to stagger, their systems malfunctioning. But the effect wasn't just localized to Earth, something far more significant was happening. On the surface, the Federation's scattered forces had been retreating, but the impact of the resonator's pulse was like a wake-up call. Soldiers from across the world, from every corner of the planet, heard the call. The Empire's grip on Earth loosened as the shockwave of energy reached the farthest reaches of space. Earth's warriors, fueled by newfound strength, rose up once more. Citizens turned soldiers, insurgents joined the ranks, and an unstoppable wave of humanity's resolve swept across the globe. As the Earth Federation's forces reorganized, their morale surged. The Empire's troops, now disoriented and weakened by the unexpected surge in energy, faltered. The Legion of the Void, their prideful commanders, were no longer invincible. The tables were turning. In the Emperor's command ship, the mood was tense. He had watched the cosmic resonator unleash its power, and now he was feeling something he had not experienced in centuries: doubt. The humans had proven themselves capable of things that no other species had ever achieved. His once impenetrable empire was crumbling, and he was no longer sure that his superior might would be enough to stop it. "Ready the final weapon," the Emperor ordered, his voice filled with grim resolve. "If Earth will not bend, it will burn." The final weapon was the Empire's ultimate fail-safe, a cataclysmic device capable of destroying entire planets. It was a weapon of mass destruction, designed not just to wipe out Earth's population, but to send a message to the galaxy that no rebellion would ever go unpunished. The Emperor had waited too long for victory, and now he was willing to burn the galaxy to ashes to preserve his rule. But just as the device's activation began, a sharp voice cut through the Emperor's plans. "Your weapon is obsolete, Emperor," said a voice that boomed through the command ship speakers. The Emperor turned sharply, his eyes blazing. "Who dares?" The voice continued, calm and certain. "This war is not yours to win anymore." Before the Emperor could react, a large figure strode into the command center, an unexpected ally. General Vance, the Federation's commander, stood tall, flanked by a battalion of Federation soldiers who had infiltrated the heart of the Empire's command fleet. Holden's brow furrowed as he examined the crystal. The energy emanating from it was unlike anything he had ever felt. There was an eerie calmness about it, an overwhelming presence that spoke of ancient power. This was no mere weapon. It was a key, perhaps to something far more profound than they could imagine. As the Federation began to dig deeper into the mystery of the cosmic resonator and its origins, the galaxy began to stir once more. The defeat of the Empire had created a power vacuum, but it also opened doors to new possibilities. As humanity ventured further into the stars, they discovered fragments of long-forgotten civilizations, alien races, some wiped out millennia ago, others hidden from the universe for reasons unknown. Some of these races sought the power of the resonator for themselves, others offered humanity their knowledge, and still others warned of dark forces yet to come. Captain Holden and his team had faced the might of the Empire and won, but the universe was vast and full of dangers beyond their comprehension. The child's death, the event that had sparked their revolution, was merely the beginning of a journey that would take humanity to the furthest reaches of space, and beyond.